Hello friends and welcome back to my channel. So I'm reading today for Aquarius energy, but it's a story time reading. So when I do story time readings, sometimes I do get kind of wacky stuff, but I'm rolling with it. I'm going to say what the cards are saying, and I find that the readings all kind of talk to each other. So it's kind of like collective messages, like things that are going on in kind of the collective consciousness, but focused through different lenses of the different signs. So your reading, I feel like it's really strongly tying in with Leo's reading, I want to say, and Libra's reading, and it's kind of following on from Capricorn's reading, because Capricorn had this thing about needing to release control, which is here with the Chariot in reverse. So do take it if it resonates, leave it if it doesn't. You may have placements in those signs, or you may be dealing with people who also have those signs. I am getting a really bad pain here, really bad pain right here right now. So that is a message for somebody. It's probably going to go now that I've said it. Maybe like carpal tunnels or something like that. So I have to say, Aquarius, I got really excited about your reading and I cried. Your reading made me cry, and it's so Aquarius. Like literally, these are the cards that came out. I'm shuffling. I've got 11 decks, and I have them all grouped together in these kind of mixed decks, and I shuffle like this. Cards come out. I put all the cards that come out from those 11 decks back together, reshuffle, and this gives me the story. That's my process. So nothing here is set up. It's exactly as the cards decided to speak, and it's exactly what I've been channeling for you, and it's so Aquarius. I mean, just look at the cards and look how you've got like upper world, starseed, star bathing, star, like literally your card in the tarot is out. It's just so Aquarian, and it's so, oh, it's like, I can't wait to tell you. It's just so gorgeous. So Libra had this thing about kind of being mad at God, being mad at the sky. If you know the famous Romeo and Juliet scene, I can't get my words out because I'm excited. Romeo and Juliet scene with Leonardo DiCaprio, where he gets angry and he shouts at the sky. He's like, "I defy these stars, I defy you stars," and there's like helicopters circling. I have to say, I'm recording this on Monday, and I watched Libra's reading back, kind of while I was folding some laundry, and there was a helicopter in that reading. And as I was watching the reading, right, okay, Libra's reading, a helicopter showed up in that, like as I was filming. You can hear it in the background. There's not normally, it's not a common occurrence to have helicopters around here. You see them from time to time, but for the coincidence that a helicopter turns up when I'm doing a reading where I'm talking about a scene with helicopters in, and then watching it back, a helicopter turned up, and I had to even pause the video because I was like, is that on the recording or is that in real life? And there was a helicopter going past, and again, it happened during the reading. So it's like, what's that about? What's that about? But it seems to be a message for you as well, because there's this energy that's kind of been moving through, which again I'll come back to in a minute. So yeah, Libra had this thing about basically the way it's coming through, and it's coming through for you as well. It's like defiance of God in a way, which is a scary thing to say, right? Because I'm not trying to I don't know what your religious beliefs are. I don't know what your spiritual beliefs are. I am not trying to encourage you one way or another. Literally, my readings are just a story. It's like watching a sci-fi movie or something. So it's a discussion around themes that come up in the collective consciousness. I just kind of want to distance myself from that before I go into it. So, but Libra had this thing about basically the crux of Libra's argument was like to God, right? Or to a father figure of some kind. If I was made in your image, if you are my creator, then you're responsible for my actions, basically. It's like, you made me who I am today. I was made in your image is the line that I use for the thumbnail. So it's like, therefore, like, if we are rejected, right? If members of the human race are rejected by God, right, refused entry to heaven, then actually God is just rejecting a part of themselves, right? So it's like God is projecting their failures like a father, right? So it could not be talking about God. If we bring this down to earth, it could be like a father who is projecting their own sense of failure or their own insecurities on their own children, particularly a son. It's coming through strong son energy. So it's like Yeah, sorry. After I watched Libra's reading, I got Paranoid Android. The song played on Spotify. And of course, the end of that is We Are God's Children, right? And they're playing it again. So it's like, yeah, they're playing Paranoid Android. So maybe go and look at the lyrics of that. Like, you don't remember my name. I don't know if somebody has like an absent father or a father who's like disowned them. And maybe the father doesn't even say the name properly or something like that. It's like this real sense of like fatherly rejection. And again, it could be about like it could be your relationship to God. It could be something you're watching on TV. It could be a literal relationship with your father. But it's coming through this kind of feeling of being rejected or disowned, right? Cast out is the way it's coming through. So, but then the thing is like I'm your child, right? I am made of your DNA. You raised me, and yet you're rejecting me. Do you see what I mean? It's a projection of the father. Like the father has failed in their responsibilities, and therefore they reject the child rather than reject themselves or take ownership for themselves. Does that make any sense? So if you cast God in the role of this father figure who is not taking accountability for the actions of the children they created, it doesn't really look very good on them, right? And again, I'm saying this just because it's what's coming through in the story time. You know, if you're particularly religious and you disagree with what I'm saying, that's absolutely fine. I understand that. I respect that. I am just telling you a story, and again, it could be some kind of TV show. I just really want to distance myself. I worry when I talk about religion and politics. So Libra was very defiant, and they were screaming at the sky like and it was like it's like the gates of heaven, right? It's like you either take all of us or you take none of us, was the way it was coming through. It's like you either accept your responsibility for all of us, and with it's like somebody had this thing about, is God's love conditional or unconditional? It was like that was the question that we're asking, and that was going to be the deciding factor of whether or not they follow them. And in that reading, I can't remember which reading it was, but the title in the thumbnail was I have just one question. And it was like, if God's love is unconditional, then there can't be a hell, right? And he can't have cast Lucifer out of heaven because that's not what unconditional love is. It doesn't make sense. So therefore, is God's love conditional? In which case, maybe I don't want to follow a God whose love is conditional. Again, it could be a father figure, right? So something like that going on. And so Libra was doing this thing where there was like an eye in the sky, and they were standing up to this bully, basically, in a very, very, very empowered, this is my position way. And then after their reading finished, I kind of got a bit of a download where I recognised this as almost Aquarian energy, actually, because it came through as scenes from Doctor Who, particularly Matt Smith. So Matt Smith had some brilliant speeches where he stood up to aliens who were attacking Earth. So it's like coming through, again, Libra had this thing about the protector of the Earth, right? So it's coming through for you because you're Aquarius, because you have this kind of like starman or starwoman, starseed quality to you. It's like, if you just look at typical descriptions of Aquarius, it's like this quirky, almost alien-like creature who has this kind of, you know, higher consciousness, higher mind, and is very, very protective of, very socially conscious. Like, these are all typical things that people say about Aquarius energy, and it's absolutely here in your reading. So if you imagine this as, if you imagine Aquarian energy as this Doctor Who, like Matt Smith character. So the first time that we meet Matt Smith as Doctor Who, it culminates with like the first, I think it's like 2 episodes, but it culminates with him stood on the rooftop of this hospital, and there's this big alien that's like this big massive eye, who has come to destroy Earth because they harbored this, like it's like they accuse Earth of hiding this alien that was like a criminal, which also ties into the Libra's reading with this thing about, or Scorpio's reading about this thing about somebody being arrested unfairly, kind of thing, or like abuse of authority, right? So sorry, I'm waffling on. I'm waffling on so much, but it's coming through so strongly, and then it's in your cards, and it's exciting me that it's in your cards. So it's like it's just got this defiance. It's almost like the same energy of like, you know, the one person standing up to a huge like powerhouse and the impact of that. So it's like what's it, something square, where the guy is like stood in front of the tanks. It's like one man stood in front of tanks and the impact of that image. So it's very much like that. It's like, I speak for the human race. I speak for humanity, and you know, this earth is protected. So that's what he says. It's like, I'll ask you 3 questions. He's like, have the humans broken any of your laws? Something else. And then he's like, my 3rd question, is this planet protected? And the eye kind of scans all these different adventures that Doctor Who's had, where he's like fighting Daleks and, you know, all the different alien races that have tried to attack Earth. And they zoom off and like, I'm out of here. You know, they realise who he is. So there's another brilliant one as well that's coming through, where he's I'll see if I can remember. I've got a terrible memory, but I'll try and put the clips in the description box down below. And he's again like this massive planet is trying to consume all the humans like memories, and he's like, here, take my memories. I am as old as time. I know secrets that should never be shared. And he does this brilliant speech, and he's like, come on then, kind of thing. And you know, the planet like taps into his memories, and he's like, oh wait, I'm off. So he's got this brilliant kind of it happens quite a few times. There's like a Pandora episode as well, where he does the same thing. He stands up to like all these aliens that are in the sky, and they recognize him, and they're like, yeah, maybe we don't want to fight this. Maybe we know we're not going to win this. So this concept of this this lonely alien, because I always say like that speech where he's like, I'm the very last of my kind, right? But I'm, you know, being the very last of your kind makes you very old and very kind, right? And it's like, and you can't stand by and let children cry. So it's like this lonely alien on Earth that is protecting the planet and protecting the human race, because it's like, that's all it's like they just know that's what they have to do, right? It's like that's what their heart is telling them to do. And then it's here in your readings. It's mad. So in that scene as well, there's a choral element where this young girl is singing in the background, and she says, wake up and let the cloak of life cling to your bones. So there seems to be something with that as well. It's like, wake up and, you know, do your mission here on Earth as a human, right? As a starseed. Literally, your first card is starseed. I can't believe it. What lights you up? And what lights you up, I want to say, is standing up for those who have been rejected, standing up for they're telling me the dogs' bodies, standing up for the down and outs, the waifs and strays. Maybe this ties into Virgo's reading somehow. It's like, what lights you up is playing that role of protector of humanity, right? Of standing up for the little guy, because it's the right thing to do. And there's this thing about, there's no choice. This isn't something you even think about. You don't even consider saying no. It's like, because you've got uncertainty in reverse here, it's like you don't even think twice about doing this. You just take action, and then just say yes as well. It's like, there is no no. There is only one option here. There is only one choice, like, especially with the Chariot in reverse. It's like, it just feels like doing what your heart tells you to do in the moment. It's kind of like, you know, the person who acts when there's a crisis. So, you know, there's an accident and everybody's kind of standing by a bit shocked, but one person will move forward and starts doing CPR. It's like, and then you say, why did you do that? And it's like, it was just my instinct. It was just my instinct to go and help. So you are coming through this helper energy. You have something about sympathy for the devil, right, as well. So this idea of like being made in his image, it's coming through that Lady Gaga song as well, Born This Way. So the introduction to that is like, yeah, capital H-I-M, you know. So, but this idea of sympathy for the devil, it's coming through very, very literally, which I kind of talk about in a second, but it could just also be talking about, again, Libra was getting like Les Miserables, and people who are being, who have had a really difficult hand in life, and then it's like society turns away from them. It's like, you know, you made your bed, you lie in it, but it's like they didn't make the bed was made for them by society, and then society just washing their hands of them and not accepting responsibility. So, you know, if you know, it's Anne Hathaway, her character in Les Miserables, it's like, no social responsibility, and that doesn't sit right with you, Aquarius. It's not something you can tolerate. So again, it's this thing about, I couldn't look myself in the mirror if I didn't stand up for what I believe in, is the way it's coming through. So again, with this concept of, the father could be representing political systems and, the country that you live in. And it's like, there's been a lot of stuff coming through about duty of care. The people who are in positions of power, especially civic roles, they have a duty of care to the populace. They literally are servants, right, to protect and serve. They're not meant to be these authority figures who oppress us. They're meant to be our civil servants, and we should hold them to authority. We should hold them to account, because you do have taking accountability here as well. So remembering who pays the taxes, that kind of thing. And yeah, I don't know. There's a rebalancing of power, which is very, very Aquarian. If you look at the age of Aquarius, this is what happens. If your planet's up to stuff in the sky, it really does bring this reconstruction of political systems. Is very, very common for Uranus energy. So sympathy for the devil here, especially with this falling angel, right? It's like literally, again, Libra had this thing about Venus being the morning star. I keep doing this. I don't know if there's something about this that I'm doing. There could be something about that gesture. But Venus being the morning star, right? So in Libra's reading, it's coming very, very through with this kind of persecution of the feminine. For you, it's coming through with sympathy for the devil, in terms of the morning star was also given the name Lucifer, which of course is the bringer of light. And people called it this because the star appears to fall. So this is how the association with Lucifer came in. But I was looking up some Bible stuff, and I was like, what did he really do wrong? He seems more to me like a Prometheus type character, from what I can gather. Again, I'm not an expert in the Bible, from the little bit of research I was doing. He seems like a Prometheus type of character who is like bringing light to the world, bringing knowledge to the world, like through like the Garden of Evil and the symbolism of the apple. It's like, you now have knowledge, right, of all of God's creation. And yet he's, very much punished for this. I don't know. I'm not an expert on the Bible, but it's the way it's coming through. So again, with this idea of like God rejecting his children, right? Lucifer perhaps being one of his children. Again, not 100% on that. But it's like, you are what you made me, right? And it could be society. I am what society has made me. If I'm a devil, then I'm a product of my environment. Very much that kind of energy. Not in a way where it's like shirking ownership, because it's actually coming through when I'm connecting with this energy. It's coming to me visually as a dragon, and it's coming through with the light of the sun, and the pink light energy. So white light, yellow light, which is like flames, right? And pink, which is love. So it's actually coming through with the exact same energy as the higher energy, which is unconditional love. And yet it's been rejected. So it's like almost like that, what should naturally be part of it has been extinguished, is the way it's coming through. Again, this kind of devil's advocate. I don't know. I don't want to get myself in trouble. Again, it's just a story. So again, it could be something that's going on, like, I don't know, in some kind of sci-fi program. I don't know. Constantine is in, what's it called? What's the TV show with the sleep guy, right? Morpheus. I can't think what the TV show's called. Is it called Morpheus? I don't know. It's a Netflix show. Everybody's watching it at the moment, so it could be part of that, right? But yeah, but you're really coming through with this, like, you take one, you take us all. It's almost coming through like God's favorites, right? So there's this concept of like, if the apocalypse came, the people whose name is in the book get to go to heaven. It's almost like right, again, I don't want to be really blasphemous, but it's almost like if God's favorite is like Jesus, right? And Jesus is like, do you know what? I'm going to burn the book. I know that's really controversial, right? Super controversial. I'm uncomfortable saying it, but it's literally what I'm being given channeling. It's like, what if I burn the book of names, right? And I say, right, you take us all, or you take none of us. And then, like, God's favorite child is the one saying this, like, you take us all or you take none of us. It's like, you know, it's almost like this standoff energy. And this is including like the fallen angels, right? It's like everybody's going to heaven, or dogs go to heaven, you know? Because it's holding God accountable. And again, it doesn't necessarily have to be God. It's coming through like God, but it's like it could be authority figures, right? It could be something like, if I was going to shift the example, it could be something like, I am Spartacus. No, I am Spartacus. No, I am Spartacus. You know, everybody's Spartacus. You know, what are you going to do if we all stand together? So the power of the populace, no soul left behind. I love that, no soul left behind. Isn't that beautiful? So there is definitely something about father-son relationships coming through, because especially this falling angel and the chariot in reverse, and all this kind of, I don't know what all this like flying horse is for you. Maybe you've got Sagittarius placements or something. But it's coming through with this energy of certain parables. So of course, you know, obviously famously falling angel could be Lucifer. But it's also Icarus. You know, Icarus, his father warned him not to fly too close to the sun, and he did. So it could be talking about ego. And also Helios and Phaethon, I want to say the name is Phaethon. Am I saying that correctly? Helios, who, like Apollo, also pulled the chariot that dragged the sun through the sky. It was their job, right? And only they could control these horses. And his son, who I'm actually going to read it to you, because again, it's coming through the same message, repeated in different ways. Let me just grab it. Pull it up. Okay. According to most authors, Phaethon is the son of Helios, and out of desire to have his parentage confirmed, he travels to the sun god's palace in the east. There he is recognized by his father and asks him for the privilege to drive his chariot for a single day. Despite Helios's fervent warnings and attempts to talk him out of it, similar to Daedalus and recalling names, Icarus, right? Father-son relationship. Despite his warnings and attempts to talk him out of it, counting the numerous dangers he would face in the celestial journey, and reminding Phaethon that only he can control the horses, the boy is not dissuaded and does not change his mind. He is then allowed to take the chariot's reins. His ride is disastrous, and he cannot keep a firm grip on the horses. As a result, he drives the chariot too close to the earth, burning it, and too far from it, freezing it. It sounds like what's going on, right, with the temperature changes. In the end, after many complaints from the stars in the sky to the earth itself, you've got the star here, Zeus strikes Phaethon with one of his lightning bolts, killing him instantly. So his tale was commonly used to explain why inhabitable lands on both sides of extremity, such as hot deserts and frozen wastelands, exist, and why certain people have darker complexions, whilst his sister's amber tears accounted for the rich river deposits of amber. So there's a tie in there with Capricorn's reading, who had kind of like an oasis and a dry desert in their reading. So this idea of like extremes of temperature has been coming through. I think there was a card that said extremes that came through for Cancer and someone else as well. So definitely something about, it could be holding leaders accountable in terms of our planet and the how we're treating our planet. Are we planting it? Like Capricorn had this thing about planting seeds and you know, terraforming environments. So gosh, I'm so warm. I may have to open my window. I've got it closed, but it's like the temperature's gone down, but the humidity has gone up, and it's very, very close today, so I'm suffering a little bit. So all this stuff going on. Okay, so let's just go straight to the cards. So Starseed. So you may feel like a Starseed. You may kind of have this feeling like, and again, it comes out confirmed at the end of the reading, you are maybe you feel like you're a little bit odd, right? You never quite fit in properly. Maybe you feel a little bit, you know, like in social groups, you don't really think the same as everybody else. You've got this kind of higher awareness, you know, this quirky character, kind of all typically symbolic of starseeds, if you believe in starseeds, which are, starseeds are basically, the souls didn't originate on this planet. The souls originated in the stars, right, in a galaxy far, far away, and they incarnate on Earth to help raise the collective vibration of the planet, to make Earth a better place, to make Earth more like heaven. So, or the heavens, which is incredible because the following card, again, I've not set any of this up, literally how it's come out. So you start with Starseed, and then you have Upper World, which is like higher perspective, the future, envisioning the future, you know, being high vibrational. So it's literally saying what lights you up, and it seems to be envisioning the potential futures that may lie in store for the human race, is the way it's coming through. You do have this Chariot in reverse, so you may feel like something's out of control. I don't know, the planet's out of control, humans are out of control. You may feel like you have no control over the situation. However, there's this transcending, right? So if I want to say, if there's obstacles in your path, Capricorn had this thing about Mario Kart, right? So it's like, if you're in a certain lane and there's, again, this thing about cars, it's like if you're in a certain lane and there's an obstacle like a rock, you switch lanes. I don't know if it's Mario Kart or if there's like a different game, but that's kind of what I'm seeing, right? It's like you have to almost like what's that, Jumpy Road or something? Is there a game like that as well? It's like if there's an obstacle in your path, not only are you going to switch lanes, you're going to transcend the obstacle, right? So you're going to grow wings and fly over it. So transcending really talks about having this higher view, but it's also coming through like, it's a bit back to front, but it's coming through like rescuing the fallen angel, right? So the people, the humans, the people you know, or people in collective consciousness who are falling into spiritual narcolepsy, where it's like, again, falling asleep at the wheel. Just be really careful if you're driving. It's like, you know, they get distracted from, you know, their higher self, and they fall into you know, negative behaviors. So they fall into their own shadow. So it could be addictions, you know, bad patterns of behavior. It's like forgetting the best version of themselves and falling back into bad patterns. But it's like you are playing this role where you're kind of coming in on this sun chariot and saving these people, like carrying them on your back. Then you have this just say yes, right? So it's like, just say yes, star bathing, light body, crystal grid, transmission, activation. So it's like, accept your destiny, accept your purpose, accept that you're different, accept that you have a very unique role here to play on Earth. And this is going to come through, you know, in different ways for humans. You know, it may be being an advocate. Maybe you are some kind of human rights lawyer or human rights activist, or you are, oh, I've got shivers, shivers right up my left leg. Or perhaps you just, you know, you are engaging in politics, you're petitioning your local councillor. It's like you're doing something where you're advocating and playing a role. And it may be accepting some kind of, with the star, it could be stepping into the limelight somehow, where you are putting yourself on show, perhaps as a very unique person, perhaps as a very quirky person. But you're accepting this mission, you're accepting this for like front-facing role, is the way it's kind of coming through. Just say yes. And it does feel like you're kind of channeling, right? You are maybe perhaps meditating, perhaps you're doing hypnotherapy, or you know, regression, or you know, whatever, you know, floats your boat, whatever floats your soul, you know, to make you transcend, to make you access those higher energies. Perhaps you are seeing the evidence of this. Perhaps you're seeing miracles in your daily life. Perhaps you can perform miracles. I don't know. Do be wary about ego. Again, with the messages of the fallen angel, be very, very careful about ego. You know, remember to be humble. But perhaps you are, and it's funny as well, because Capricorn had this thing about I'm going to need a miracle, like to pull this off, to accomplish this, it's going to take a miracle. And then you've got the miracle. So whatever that means for you. But again, it's almost like perhaps you didn't expect to be saved, or perhaps this person didn't expect to be saved. And yet here comes Aquarius on the flying horse to catch them when they fall, and it feels like a miracle to them, right? It feels like you're their savior in some sort of way. Again, watch your ego, but it's like you're giving them this place of refuge. So it's going to me like, yes, it's refuge, but it's coming to me like refugee as well. It's making me think of the Brian Bilson poem as well. If you've ever seen Brian Bilson Refugee, it's one of those poems that you have to read forward and then backwards and then you get it. But this is what made me cry, this, because it's so compassionate. It's so compassionate, and it really feels like, it almost feels like Schindler's List, right? Again, with this kind of names in the book, like I don't know, you're adding more names to the book, or you're adding all the names to the book, you know, whatever this access is, right? It's like you're not, you know, with this kind of no soul left behind, including, you know, the fallen angel. It's like, I'm going to rescue everybody. I believe that everybody's redeemable. And you truly believe it. You know it in your heart, I want to say. So these people who could be very rejected by society, you're kind of like scooping them up and giving them this hope, because the star is a symbol of hope. You're giving them this faith and hope, and opportunity to heal. The star card carries, you know, almost spiritual healing. And it feels like, to this person who perhaps had given up on themselves, you feel like their savior is the way it's coming through. And that's a huge responsibility, Aquarius. You had a reading like this once, and it's one of my most popular videos on my channel. It's like Aquarius, you are the star or something, but I remember it had a very, very similar message of remember who you are, remember why you're here, accept this responsibility to step into the limelight, because you're doing something that's you're gonna be this beacon of hope, this symbol of hope and redemption and healing to, you know, all the people who felt orphaned by society or ignored or pushed out. And that's not fair. It's not fair. And that's the thing that Doctor Who teaches as well, the messiness of humans. It's like that's what makes them so interesting. That's what makes them so compelling. You know, the stories, the humanity of humans. I'm a humanist, I guess. It's a word with different connotations, but I studied humanities at university because I love the stories of people, you know. And sometimes those stories are difficult and challenging and painful, and yet there's something cathartic in hearing those stories. There's something, especially if it's got a redemption arc, you know, as well. It's powerful messages in there. So you could be creating something. I kind of came through a little bit in Cappy's reading as well. Your life is a canvas, artist, manifestation, creative, accountability. So holding yourself accountable perhaps for when you got a bit too big for your boots. That's an Aquarian energy. You know, don't blame yourself, just be aware of it and try to remember to stay humble. This, you know, you may sometimes feel a little bit like you're above the population, you know, you're smarter than it, you're the smartest person in the room kind of thing. So with that feeling, you can sometimes get a bit jaded. Again, kind of a time with Cappy's reading, you know, you can become a bit misanthropic, where it's like you don't understand why everybody doesn't see things the same way as you, right? But you do have a unique perspective, and it's an opportunity for you to share that. And sometimes you're not going to be understood, right? And sometimes it's going to be something that you know, you're going to say things, you're going to have a hot take where people don't understand it, right? And it's like they disagree with it in the moment, but maybe it sits in their mind. And maybe the more they encounter those hot takes, the more familiar it comes, and they start to accept it. So it's coming through an analogy or a metaphor of, they say that if you're introducing new food to somebody, especially children, it takes something like 7 tries, I think it is, before they will accept that new food. So, you know, the first time you give it to them, they might just like not even touch it. The next time you give it to them, they might push it around on the plate. The next time, you know, the next couple of times they might try it but not really like it. But then it's like they get acclimatized to the taste. And so, you know, after several attempts, you know, they might actually be like, this is my favorite food. So this idea of like, it's the same with ideas, and it's the same with concepts. And because you are such, like, you have such a unique ability, Aquarius, to really envision the future, envision what could be, you know, to have that hope. Do you remember, I don't know, those Aquarians who've been with me for a while, do you remember the Pandora's box readings, where it's like hope was left in the box, and literally like at the end of the reading, the star card was still in the box. It was like literally hope remains, right? It's like those readings really sat with me. So it's a similar thing, but it's also holding yourself accountable. And using yourself again with humility as an example. Perhaps you had difficult things in your life, perhaps you made mistakes, and taking ownership of that and accountability for it, it could actually help other people who are in a similar arc to also follow you. And if they see that you've healed and you've had success, it could encourage them to also follow in those footsteps and also heal and have success. So if you're doing something creative that is going to tap in cathartically to those darker parts of people that causes them to fall into spiritual narcolepsy, I want to really strongly encourage you to do that, because it's going to be incredibly healing. And it's like, you don't even think twice. This is what I mean. If you see people in need, if you see people who need help, you don't think twice about it. It's like you spring into action. So if you felt like, you had, what they call blocks under your wheels, it's like you will jump in that car. It could be an example, and I don't encourage anyone to do this, but it could be something like, you get into an accident, you get points on your license gets revoked, you can't drive for 6 months, but you get a phone call, your grand's having a heart attack, and it's like, you don't even think twice, you get in that car and you go to your gran, right? It's like, because in the grand scheme of things, that person in need, that you have this instinct to help, takes higher priority than the consideration of, oh, but I don't have a license at the moment. Now, really, really strongly, for liability reasons and all that kind of thing, I really want to say, do not drive without a license. You're not allowed to do that. There's other ways that you could do that. But in the story time that it's telling me, it's like, that could be, it's that kind of energy of like, you don't think twice, you don't ask questions, you don't, you just spring into action because somebody's in need, right? You have to go and pick up this falling angel. It could be a friend as well. It could be like, a friend who's in trouble, and, maybe they're even, maybe they're just really, really having a bad time in their life, and they ring you. It's like, phone a friend, phone Aquarius. And it's like, you just go and pick them up, no questions asked. It could be something like that, because it really is like springing into motion. But there's also a message here with the Chariot in reverse, which the Chariot in the upright is a controlling energy, and in the reverse it's letting go of control. It's like, I'm going to go wherever these horses take me, and they're taking you into the air. It's like, you don't know where they're going to go, and then take flight. It could be whatever's happening, it could be quite a surprise. But it's like, with Ride the Wave as well, what I'm seeing here is a link between the horses and these dolphins. It's almost like surfing. So if you know the god Poseidon, and Neptune, there is a link with horses and the ocean. I believe horses came from the ocean in Greek mythology, and also the word mare, right? Mare, M-A-R-E, mare, which is a female horse, is also the word for ocean or sea in Latin. So yeah, this concept of waves being like thundering horses. It's almost like, who had the call in the cavalry reading? Was it you? I remember somebody had like, here comes the cavalry, and it's like, here you come to save the day kind of thing, like the army riding in to rescue the people who are in need in some sort of way. I wonder if there's something going to happen in the news or something. Again, I'm recording this on Monday for Friday, so really, really curious to see if anything plays out. But it's like, it's almost like, I don't know, surfing in it. So it's like very much like with the waves symbolizing emotions. It's like going where your emotions take you, not overthinking it, but kind of allowing yourself to go with the flow of the situation. Lost compass, getting back to integrity. So again, with the concept, with this little combination of cards here, it really has this feeling of like, I had no choice. So I don't know if you or a friend have been in a situation where maybe you really hit rock bottom, right? Maybe you really had like looked in the mirror and saw the devil within, right? It's like you had to change. It could even be like a health issue, right? Maybe drinking too much, and then you get a bit of a shock where you get a health issue, and it's like, you can't keep going on like this. It's bad. But whatever it is, like, because it does feel like a wake-up call, especially with again, somebody was getting through stuff with like actual morphine. I feel like it could have been in Virgo's reading a bit, and maybe Cancer's reading a little bit. or Leo, no, Cancer. I feel like it's Cancer and Virgo. This thing about like literal like morphine as a pain relief, and the opioid crisis in America, where a lot of people got addicted to opiates because they were prescribed them for pain relief, but they were overprescribed, and there was some other things that were going on that were really shady, and doctors were being encouraged basically to push these opioids, but then people got addicted to them, and so you had people who were like well-to-do, middle-class, suburban family people, mothers, and they were addicted to opioids, and the doctors wouldn't keep giving them to them, so it's like they kept on trying to get them from not great sources. So a huge crisis in America. You can go ahead and Google that if you want, but the what morphine does, and again, I'm really fascinated with the concept of in ancient Greece, Morpheus and Death were brothers, and people say that sleep is like a little death, and how similar the energies are. So to me, they really work hand in hand in a really beautiful way, because we are mortal, our time on earth is limited, and sometimes we have a painless ending and sometimes we have painful endings. And so some of you may know I lost my mum at Christmas time, and she had a very short but very very upsetting and painful illness. And I was so thankful, so thankful that towards the end of her life, where really she would have been in quite a lot of pain otherwise, she had access to morphine, and she had a very comfortable death where, she was floating in the clouds already, so there is a place for it. However, people do get addicted to it, because it's like, I know, because when I meditate sometimes, or when I sleep, I go to places that are so comforting and healing and safe. And it's like, you don't want to wake up. Someone else had this, I can't remember who it was. It was like, Chrissy, wake up. I don't like this. So again, it could be somebody who's misusing medication or opioids. So you may have somebody who's dependent on something like that you're supporting. But it's like, even through meditation, like the others, the place beyond the veil, the heaven perhaps it feels so good. So even though I've never taken opioids in my life, I can understand why people do, because especially if your life is hard, and this is what I'm talking about with sympathy for the devil, right? Sympathy for the waifs and strays, the addicts, and the people who are so caught up in those cycles, because if your life has been so full of pain, and it doesn't have to be physical pain, it can be emotional pain or both, the temptation to ease that through substances is incredibly strong. And I mean, I'm very lucky, because I used to drink too much, and I wouldn't say I was alcoholic, but I did use alcohol to numb. And I stopped doing that, and I got a lot healthier. I started doing yoga, I started doing meditation, and now I can get the same effect, the same comfort through meditation. I don't need it anymore, right? So if I'm stressed, I can meditate, thankfully. So but we get distracted, and we get stressed, and we get preoccupied by earthly matters and earthly things. I was doing a reading, I think it may have come through in a Aries, possibly Taurus, where I was talking about now they're discovering that the default state of the brain is actually when you're daydreaming. So your brain is, the default switch of your brain is kind of like in its resting state. So it's dreamlike state, it's imagination. It's like when you find yourself, your thoughts drifting, that's the actual the natural state of your brain. And actually the waking life, the 3D life, where you come into your physical body and you have to do stuff, and you have to pay bills, or pick up your kids from school, or help them do homework, or tidy the house, or go to work, or all these things that you have to do, is like a preoccupation from the natural state of your brain. So of course people are trying to get back into that heaven-like space, right? Of course you can have sympathy for that. However, in your reading you are being told, what's the line? Wake up and let the cloak of life cling to your bones. So recovery from addiction could be a key theme for some of you. Oh my goodness. I'm gonna have to open the window. I'm sorry if there's like a lot of background noise, guys. I'm sorry if you see how scruffy I am today. It's literally, I say when it's really hot like this, especially when it's really humid, like my flesh feels spongy and gross. I feel really flabby and spongy. And then I'm like sweating from places I didn't know I could sweat. Like my shins are sweating. Like, how are my shins sweating? It's so gross. And I just feel like a giant slug. That's how I feel. I feel like I'm a giant fat oozing slug when the weather's like this. It's so disgusting. It's like if I could get out of this physical body until it cools down, I would be happy to do so. So yeah, so this holding yourself accountable for whatever that is, right? Not only for yourself, but for others as well. And then the miracle of healing, which is so beautiful. And sometimes it does take a miracle, right? Sometimes you hear people who said, I was really hitting rock bottom and then I experienced this miracle. And it's like, with the rainbow and with the star card and the connotation of healing, it's just, your reading was so beautiful, it really made me cry. And this idea of like almost like Schindler's List as well, of providing a place of refuge, of providing a safe space for people who could really desperately need someone to be kind to them, right? They're showing me now, they're showing it me, it's coming through as a visual, the story of Jesus meeting the Samaritan, right? And nobody was helping him, and he helped him, right? So it's like somebody could be very thankful for this. So the start and getting back to integrity, yeah, so creative accountability and getting back to integrity. So you may be finding creative ways of helping people to take accountability for their actions. And taking accountability for your actions and really taking ownership of your choices is hugely important, and it actually brings people back into control. Your life will feel out of control if you are seeing yourself as a victim, you know, all the time. That kind of victim mentality, victim consciousness. I'm not saying that you know, yes, people are victims sometimes in situations, but seeing yourself as a victim. So back to this thing in Capricorn's reading of like, if all your life you've been treated like a victim, you start to expect to be treated like a victim, right? Because your construction of the future is based on what has happened to you in the past, and if you don't know any different, you don't know how to. It's like you're expecting it before it even happens, which, you know, could link back to like manifestation. So actually teaching people empowerment, and to, you know, giving people the tools to take accountability of their choices and take control of the reins of their life is hugely important. And if you talk to, I would say, I mean, I am not a clinician, I'm not a psychologist or anything like this, a counselor, but I would say if you went and talked to counselors, psychologists, drug counselors, they would probably all tell you a very similar thing, that it has to come from the person. The person has to. That's why in AA meetings the person stands up and says, I am an alcoholic. It's taking accountability and taking ownership and taking the power into your own hands, you know. So lost compass, fallen angel, it's just, with the star there, it's so beautiful and healing. It's really, I wish I could give you the emotion that is coming off these cards. And it feels like a breakthrough, especially with motion and air, right? It's like, really feels like, you know, getting back into the position of being in command. And then this passage opening up, it's like the compass, because you take control of you know, you've got taking control but riding the wave, which is a strange duality. But what I'm seeing with this is the universe is going to bring you opportunities that you can either resist or that you can lean into, and you can choose to go with the flow. You can choose to lean into these energies and have a bit of wriggle room and enjoy the ride. So it's like, the difference is, if I was to use an analogy, it's the difference of so I'm just watching some people walking past. It's the difference of okay, the wave is coming, I cannot stop the tide. Am I going to let myself get knocked down by this? Am I going to you know, see myself swirling around and just kind of being hit by the waves, like Flotsam and Jetsam, right? It's really interesting with, you've got this I belong in space floating with debris. So this idea of like just being a piece of driftwood, right, that's getting like battered around by the waves. Or are you going to get on that piece of driftwood and use it like a surfboard and have a great time, right? So the wave is going to come. It's up to you whether you actively ride it or you passively get knocked around by it, is the way it's coming through. So you do end the reading with this feeling of this confused me. So the hunger and the sun. So it's strange that it's called the sun, because if you look here, it's actually the moon, right? The moon reflecting the light of the sun. So there's something to that. Now, in Sagittarius's reading, they had this whole thing about holograms and the moon, which is a whole conspiracy theory that I'm not necessarily agreeing with, but you can go and check that out if you want to. There's something coming through, so I'm going to tell you everything that I'm getting. I'm only getting like tendrils of it. There's something about with the warning here about not flying too close to the sun, right, and watching your ego and remaining humble, right. There's something about the heat of the sun being perhaps overwhelming, where you can get the same healing energy from the sun, which is a star. So there's something about astral bodies, right? The star is the sun. Our sun is our star. Maybe there's something about, like, maybe you're trying to impress your dad by being some sort of star. I don't know. Or maybe you're projecting onto your own child, and you're trying to push your child to take some kind of like leading role in a play when they don't want to, because you wanted the leading role in the play. And it's like, you know what I mean about projection and unconditional love and all that kind of business, this father-son relationship that's coming through. But it's like you get the same light from the sun if you bathe in the moonlight, because it's like reflected. So this is taking me now to Leo's reading, where Leo had this fascinating thing that was coming through with like the Aquarian moon, right? The Aquarian full moon. Maybe some of you have an Aquarius moon. Maybe some of you have an Aquarius sun and an Aquarius moon. But because it's like sun and moon, right? So it's like again, it's like the hunger for, it could be like the hunger for recognition, or the hunger for I don't know, I'm going to come back to that because it's to do with the song. But for some of you, there's a link with Leo's reading, because Leo is ruled by the sun, right? So you could be dealing with a Leo. And Leo is also about like fame and leadership and this bombastic energy. But it's very, very, in Virgo's reading, they were dealing with this kind of character, but they were too big for the room, right? They were too, they generated too much heat. It's like they were a brilliant person to be around, but they were overwhelming, is the way it was coming through in Virgo's reading. So in Leo's reading, they had this whole thing about the emperor of the forest, so the person who owned the land. So this could be talking about a politician or king or something, but the person who owned the land being represented by this like kind of Leo emperor. And then this woman who lived in the forest, it was like it was her home, because she was kind of energetically or psychically connected with the animals. So it's the idea of like the person who owns the planet, perhaps nobody owns the planet, but you know, like the concept of owning a piece of land and the concept of living on the piece of land, and both of these people having a claim to it, and they were working in harmony. It was basically in their interest to have the kind of relationship where they shared the responsibility for this piece of land, because she was kind of like the protectress of the plants and the animals and the flora and fauna of the place, and the emperor was kind of like you know, it was his territory, it was his hunting ground in a way. So even though they had different principles, you know, they both had a stake in this piece of land where it was in their benefit to protect it. You know, it was the home of one, the hunting ground of the other. So it was like they both had an interest in protecting this land. So for some of you, like Libra's reading and your reading is coming through with an interest in protecting the planet. It's in all our interests to protect the planet, even though we may have different experiences or different opinions about what that planet means to us. You know, it's the home of all of us, right? It's in our interest to take care of the planet, especially with like extreme heat. And what was happening in that reading was that the woman of the woods was kind of, because it was on the day of the Aquarian full moon, and it was almost like this alien, this Aquarius alien, like Aquarian full moon was like in that reading. So go and watch it if you've got Leo placements or you're dealing with a Leo. So it's like this, this Doctor Who type character, or this alien who was like, some kind of benefactor for the earth, right? They were helping the earth, was coming past, a little bit like Helios or Apollo in their sun chariot. It was almost like this alien was coming past with this moon chariot, this kind of Aquarian character. I know it sounds really silly, right? This starman energy, but it's like because they had this innovative way of being able to see the future, like they could give the gift of knowledge to the people, very similar to Prometheus, right? So yeah, they had this thing about like kind of astrally projecting up onto the spaceship like a hologram, receiving this information, and then like the moon chariot would pass on the way, and they were like waving goodbye with this knowledge of like what to do next, like how to help the planet. It could be like terraforming, which was coming through in Capricorn's reading. Sagittarius had this thing about holograms, so it's just curious that these like innovative ideas are starting to come through in the readings after the Aquarian full moon. But what's happening for you, I want to say, and maybe Libra as well, because Libra was really angry at this you know, Libra is almost like this protectress of the earth, but she was angry at the higher energy for neglecting people, right? It was like, if you know, she had this similar energy of like, you know, no soul left behind, and everybody is created equally, and therefore, you know, if we're made in God's image, if God is omnipresent, then we are all God, we are all equals. So it's a very what is it they say in French? Fraternity, equality, you know, that kind of like brotherhood, sisterhood. And you seem to have a same, it's like you have a shared vision. Again, this kind of was coming through in Capricorn reading, this shared vision. But for you, you have this feeling of like being left behind. Like maybe you expected to be beamed up to that spaceship. Maybe you thought you were gonna, you know, get to ride in the moon chariot. Because it's coming through like, you know, your Doctor Who, and that was his father, I don't know, coming by, swinging by the planet, right? So it could be like your father swung by. It's kind of reminding me of Talladega Nights. So I don't know, some of you have this kind of relationship with your dad, where, you know, he swings by in his car like he's awesome, and he's like, if you're not first, you're last, you know, and the damage that kind of does to his own, you know, the main character's impression of himself growing up. So because you start with the starseed energy, like it's like homesick is the way it's coming through. Literally, it's like homesick, right? It's so sad. It's like, here comes the, you know, he's like looking down at you, and you're howling up at him, like, and he's like, see you later, mate. Some of your dads are dicks. What can I say to you? But like, some of you have gorgeous dads. Listen, if your dad's gorgeous, then I'm not talking to you. The ones of you whose dads are dicks, and you know that this is your reading, if you need confirmation that the cards are saying your dad's a dick, all right? Okay, it's not your fault. You don't have to be like them. Again, Capricorn get this thing about carrying your father on your shoulders and leading your son by your hand. It talks about, so this is Aeneas, a very famous motif of Aeneas leaving Troy, with the responsibility of his heritage on his shoulders, like bearing the weight of his ancestry on his shoulders, and you know, leading the future in by the hand. So it talks about being the crux, being the person who gets to choose what gets passed down and what gets left behind. You know, what is fit for purpose? What do I want to pass on to my child or to future generations? And what is no longer fit for purpose? So there could be something like that. But look, oh God, I belong in space, floating with debris, homesick. I couldn't believe it, because like I say, I was grappling with this energy. I was like, what is the significance of this sun moon? And then the song was perfect. And I didn't even say anything out loud. This is what I mean. Like, I don't know if you want to do this little thing as well, where you randomize songs on Spotify. It gives you the answers. I swear to God, you don't even have to ask out loud. It's like, how did Spotify know what cards were on the table? Because it's so, everything that I've been talking about, everything that I got intuitively, everything that's in the cards, it all comes, it's really confirmed by this song. So it says, it's just so Aquarian, so Starseed, so Aquarian, so Doctor Who, right? I always knew that you existed. No one listened. How come when you drove by, you ain't stopped to visit? My mum and dad said they first met under the moonlight. I didn't buy their cover story. It didn't feel right. 'Cause I belong in space, floating with debris. Something about this place never did feel right to me. Counting the stars, they all felt so far, but it's always felt like home to me. What took you so long? They thought that I was wrong. But now they're all going to see that's where I'm meant to be. And you're so lucky, looking down on everyone, me alone and faking at this after party. These ain't my people, ain't my crew, this ain't my planet. These humans speak my language, still don't understand it. I wish you took me with you when you left that day, but everything looks so perfect when you're far away. Counting the stars, they all felt so far, but it's always felt like home to me. I'm just going to see if there's any more lyrics. I put, oh my god, like, I didn't read all the lyrics, and now, like, Capricorn's coming back in again with the void. Now they're all going to see it's where I'm meant to be. I put a spatially tessellated void inside a modified temporal field. Hello, Doctor Who. I put a spatially tessellated void inside a modified temporal field until a planet developed intelligent life. Then I introduced that life to the wonders of electricity, which they now generate on a global scale. And you know, some of it goes to power my engine and charge my phone and stuff. Rick, take us home now. All right, fine, Marty. So it's Rick and Morty. Oh my gosh. It's just so Aquarius, so Aquarian. I can't get over it. I'm going to get you advice, and then I'm going to randomise another song for you. Take a deep dive. I belong in space floating with debris. I mean, that should be the Aquarian anthem. It's just so Aquarius, and it's just this reading, like, it sums it up perfectly. I almost don't want to get another song, but I will do. I forgot to get some more song. I think it was Sagittarius. Okay, see how nothing's coming out. Right. Oh god, that feeling, like, it's making me think of Capricorn's reading again, where, like, they needed advice, and it was like not giving you any advice. It was the way it was coming through. It was really harsh. Oh god, I feel sick. Oh, I feel so sick. Is that one of you? Okay, Aquarius isn't gonna let you down, baby. Come on, advice please for this energy. There you go. Magic works through you. Scarab beetle. Someone else has scarab beetle. I can't remember. Maybe Scorpio. Told you, Aquarius won't let you down. They're in the car. They're driving over already, right? They already know. You can sense it. Listen, you told them psychically. No, actually, if you need help, like, actually vocally say that you need help. You need to. Sometimes people get so wrapped up in their own stuff that they just don't realize, and all it takes sometimes is to wave that flag and be like, hey, hey, I'm not doing so well, and people will show up. You know, you're not going to be abandoned. You do have to take accountability though and do work. I really have to stress that, especially after Virgo's reading. In ancient Egypt, the scarab beetle was revered, for the creative magic of the scarab beetle reminds us that we can bring forth something extraordinary, seemingly out of thin air. When you let your creativity flow through you, and remember this is like creative accountability, whenever you let your creativity flow through you, scarab beetle spirit reminds you that spirit has given you the gift of infinite potential, right? The future could be anything that you can envision. You have an ally as you fashion something new or repurpose the old, for spirit co-creates with you, channeling energy through you so that you feel replenished and vitalized as you make magic with what's at hand. They're telling me watch the videos, watch the Doctor Who videos. I will do my best to remember to link them in the description box, but I've got a terrible memory. As soon as I finish the reading, I'm going to start getting Pisces, so it's like, yeah. Now is the time for great optimism, for you can accomplish anything you desire and your creative endeavors will come to fruition. Miracles. Did you need confirmation of that? Maybe watch out for rainbows. That could be a sign from spirit. It's a sign of healing. It's a sign of communication from the other side that your ancestors are doing fine and they're doing well. But also it can be just a signifier to be like, yes, this is confirming whatever you're thinking at the time. So do take notice if you see rainbows. And it doesn't have to be an actual rainbow in the sky as well. Okay, they're telling me something else. It doesn't have to be an actual rainbow in the sky as well. It's, oh my God, they're telling me something that's beautiful. If I can get one thought out before I start another, please. You know, it could be a kid walks by and they've got a rainbow on the top, or, you know, a picture, a poster of a rainbow. They're a symbol of hope and healing. So, like, as are you, as is the star, right? Hope and healing. They're showing me that circles are round. My mum used to, I'm getting loads of stuff now. My mum used to say, I used to sleep talk. And I used to, when I was really, really little, like about 3 or 4, I used to stand up in bed and I used to go, circles are round. Circus tents are circles. Like I used to give this like little TED talk on circles, and then I'd lie back down again and go back to sleep. So it's like circles are round, right? Rainbows are circles, is what I'm trying to say. Rainbows are circles. So if you actually see the whole rainbow, it's not an arc; it's a circle. So it goes. You can kind of see it a bit here. So not only does it touch the upper world, it touches the underworld as well. And the symbol of this that they're giving me, fallen angels, is that, say there's 3 realms, right? The upper world, the middle world, and the lower world. Even those in the lower world can access the healing energy of the rainbow. Isn't that beautiful? Isn't that so beautiful? Oh, I love it when I'm getting full goosebumps, full head to toe goosebumps. Okay. Now is the time for great optimism, for you can accomplish anything you desire and your creative endeavours will come to fruition. Miracles, opportunities, abundance and love will appear seemingly out of nowhere as you allow spirit to work through you and magically manifest what you need. Have you been fighting spirit like Libra having a moment? Have you been arguing with destiny, with God? Like, trust the universe. They really have a higher plan, they really have a higher perspective. But yeah, don't let hold people accountable, especially people in authority, especially people in civic roles, because their duty is to serve the population, and if they're letting the population down, then that's a failure of their duties. They didn't understand the assignment. They need to be held accountable, either book up their ideas or get out, right? So yeah. And it's for the population need to hold people who are in authority accountable. It's going back to that concept of a duty of care. You know, a king wasn't just there to rule and be tyrannical. A king was there as a representative of God on earth with a duty of care to the people who lived in their territory, right? So, you know, remind people of that if needs be. Okay, I don't know if you're going to get a song that beats Homesick, because that was so perfect, but let's see what you get. So, okay, song for Aquarius. Venice Bitch. Venice Bitch by Lana Del Rey. Fear fun, fear love, fresh out, fucks forever. Swear warning, belated swear warning. Trying to be stronger for you. Ice cream, ice queen, I dream in jeans and leather. Live stream, I'm sweet for you. Oh God, miss you on my lips. It's me, your little Venice bitch. On the stoop with the neighbourhood kids, calling out, bang bang, kiss kiss. You're in the yard, I light the fire, and as the summer fades away, nothing gold can stay. You write, I tour, we make it work. You're beautiful and I'm insane. We're American made. Give me Hallmark, one dream, one life, one lover. Paint me happy in blue. Norman Rockwell, no hype under our covers. It's just me and you. Oh God, miss you on my lips. It's you, my little Venice bitch. It's me, your little Venice bitch. Just going through, seeing if there's anything else. You heard my baby's back in town now. You should come over. We'll be hanging around now. You should come over. Oh God, I love him on my lips. Yeah. We're getting high now because we're older. Me, myself, I like diamonds. My baby crimson and clover. Beautiful losers. Beautiful losers. If you weren't mine, I'd be jealous of your love. Oh, that's beautiful. What's that line? I like that for your title. Where's it gone? Beautiful losers. I love that. Beautiful losers, because it's so human, right? Like finding companionship, perhaps with other starseeds, perhaps people who, with, again, this idea of like people who share your vision, and being okay with being the losers who have Wheatus, you know, teenage dirtbag, like being okay with being on the fringes of society with your unique starseed view. And finding the others who are the same, because whatever you're doing in Aquarius, this reading is so beautiful. It really is like one of the most beautiful readings I've ever done, and it made me cry, and it's making me cry again. All right, I really hope this reading was helpful to you. whatever you're doing, whether you're in the process of taking accountability and healing, keep going, because you can take this reading as confirmation that the universe sees that, and you know, you're doing the right thing, because it's so beautiful. And if you are, you know, if you're in a position where you are acting as this protector or this guiding light for others, keep up the good work, because you're absolutely carrying out your soul plan. And you know, I don't even need to tell you to do that, because it's coming naturally. It's like you don't have a choice. It's just instinct to be this beautiful, like Doctor Who like alien on Earth. It's just, I love Aquarius energy. All right, don't get too big for your boots, stay humble, don't fly too close to the sun, and if your dad's a bastard, fuck him off, right? You don't need him. You're going to be a better dad or a better mum, I don't know. Take care of yourselves, and no, do you know what, going back to that, you know, you're keeping the door open, aren't you? You know, I feel like you disagreed with that. Like, if your dad's a bastard, you're accepting him, because that's what unconditional love is. It's like, I accept you for and your faults, even if you don't accept me, which is ridiculously high vibrational. Not everybody can do that. Like, so that is God working through. That's true God, right? All right, take care. I hope this was helpful. Keep doing what you're doing, because it's gorgeous. Bye, Aquarius.